Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to dwell in the uncomfortable.
Oh, I like this already.
I want you to picture a very specific, and I think for many of us, a very painful moment. You're at work or maybe at a conference, some professional setting. You step into an elevator.
Okay, I'm with you.
The doors slide shut, and there's one other person standing there, just one. And you know them vaguely. You've seen them in the break room. Maybe you're like friends on LinkedIn, but have never actually spoken a word to each other.
Mm-hmm. The dreaded weak tie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And suddenly the silence in that metal box, it feels heavy. It feels physical.
It's the loudest silence in the world. It's that moment where the air pressure seems to drop and you become hyper aware of your own breathing.
It really is. And your brain starts doing this frantic dance, You're thinking, I should say something. God, I have to say something. If I don't say something, I'm the weird guy just staring at the floor number.
Right. I am socially incompetent. That's what your brain is screaming.
But then the other part of your brain goes, but if I say something, what is it? The rain. The humidity, that's so boring. That's so cliche. I'm better than that.
Hot enough for you. Yeah. The absolute classic.
Exactly. And you feel this paralysis. You're just frozen between the fear of being weirdly silent and the fear of being boringly cliche.
And you end up doing neither and just like intensely studying the fire safety certificate on the wall.
Yes. Today, we are tackling that paralysis. But we are not just giving you a list of icebreakers. We are going way, way deeper than that. We're looking at source material from the Learning English podcast, specifically a really sharp breakdown by language and culture experts Emma and John.
And they are making a massive claim. I mean, it's a huge argument. They're saying that this meaningless chit-chat, the stuff we usually roll our eyes at, is actually a high-stakes cultural algorithm.
An algorithm. Wow. So it's a system with rules and outcomes.
Precisely. And honestly, for a lot of our listeners, you might be coming from what we could call substantive cultures, places like Germany or Russia or parts of Scandinavia where you talk about philosophy or politics over your first coffee.
Where you get right to the point.
You get right to the point. And for you, the American obsession with fluff is maddening.
It feels fake. It feels like we are pretending to care about things that don't matter.
It feels fake and it feels inefficient. That's a big one. If you value directness, American small talk feels like a lot of noise with very little signal.
Just static.
Exactly. But Emma and John's analysis, it flips that on its head. They argue that small talk isn't small at all. It is the gatekeeper. It is the encryption key you have to punch in correctly if you want to unlock any deeper level of relationship in the United States.
A gatekeeper. That is a heavy word for chatting about the weather. You're really saying if I don't master the fluff, I don't get the real stuff.
It is heavy, but I think it's accurate. The source is pretty clear on this. If you mess up the weather talk, you don't get the job offer. You don't get the second date. You'll get the invite to the barbecue.
You are stopped at the gate.
You're stopped at the gate before you even knew you were at a gate.
So, our mission today is to decode this algorithm. We're going to break down the mechanics of what they call the observational pivot, which I have to say sounds like a martial arts move.
In a social sense, it kind of is, yeah. It's a redirection of energy.
We're also going to talk about fruit, specifically peaches and coconuts, and why understanding that metaphor might honestly save your professional reputation.
It's a game changer, that one.
And we're going to teach you the graceful exit, which is basically how to run away from a boring conversation while making the other person feel like a hero for letting you go.
Which is a superpower. I'm not kidding. If you can leave a conversation and make the other person feel better about themselves than when you started, you have won the interaction.
It is a superpower. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The friction. The source material talks about this dread that advanced learners or just outsiders feel. And I want to push back on this a little bit. Is it really that big of a deal? If I'm a brilliant coder or a genius accountant, why does it matter if I don't want to chat about the local sports team? Can't my work just speak for itself?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And in some cultures, the answer is an unequivocal yes. Your work is the data. The conversation is just noise. Your competence is what matters.
That feels logical. It feels fair.
It does. But the source material highlights a fundamental reality of American psychology. The purpose of the initial interaction is not to exchange information.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's to establish safety.
Safety? Like physical safety. That seems a little dramatic. I'm just standing there with a coffee cup, not a weapon.
Well, it's more like evolutionary safety. Yeah. Think about it. We are tribal animals deep down. When a stranger approaches, our lizard brain, the amygdala, it's not asking, is this person competent? It's asking one very simple question: friend or foe?
And small talk is the signal for friend.
It's the signal. In the U.S., small talk is what linguists call phatic communication.
Phatic communication. Okay, let's unpack that term. That sounds very academic.
It sounds academic, but the concept is super simple. It comes from the anthropologist Bronislaw Malinowski. Phatic communication is speech where the content is irrelevant, but the function is bonding.
Okay, so it's not what you say, it's that you say it.
Exactly. When I say, "How are you?" or "Nice day, isn't it?" I don't want a medical report. I don't need a meteorological survey.
You don't actually want to know how I am.
I don't. Not really. I am sending a ping, like a submarine sonar. Ping. I am saying, I see you, I acknowledge you, I am adhering to the social contract, I am safe.
It's like a handshake for your brain.
Precisely. For the techies listening, it's the TCP/IP handshake. You have to synchronize before you can transfer any real data. You are establishing the connection protocol.
So let's play this out. If I walk into a meeting and I skip the handshake, I just sit down and say, okay, let's look at the Q3 spreadsheets. What happens in the room?
You create friction. The source material is very, very clear on this. You are perceived as abrupt, cold, maybe even arrogant.
Even if my intention is to be efficient and respect their time.
Especially then, because you haven't done the vetting. You haven't sent the safe signal. So while the other person is looking at your spreadsheet numbers, their emotional brain is still waiting for the handshake. They are guarded.
They're on the defensive.
They are. They're wondering, why is this person so aggressive? What's their angle? You've created a problem they have to solve before they can even listen to your data.
That's fascinating. Because logically, I might think I'm being respectful. Let's get straight to business. But emotionally, I'm setting off alarm bells all over the place.
All over the place. You are prioritizing efficiency over rapport. And in a relationship-based culture, which surprisingly to many, the U.S. is, in this context, rapport must precede efficiency.
Always. Okay, so this explains why the topics are so bland. The weather, the traffic, the humidity, they are boring by design.
Yes. And this is the part that blows people's minds. The boredom is a feature, not a bug.
How so? Explain the utility of boredom for me.
Because boring topics are low stakes. If I meet you for the first time in that elevator and I ask, what is your opinion on the upcoming election? Or what is your deepest fear? Or do you believe in God?
Whoa. Yeah, okay, my shields go up immediately.
The stakes are sky high. We might disagree fundamentally. We might fight. The relationship could end before it even begins.
Right. I might hate your political candidate and now I can't work with you. Or I might think your deepest fear is just silly and now I've insulted you.
Exactly. But if I say, man, this humidity is killing me, what's the risk?
Zero. We both sweat. Unless you're some kind of lizard person who loves humidity, in which case you're the outlier.
Right. And even then, it's a mild disagreement. But 99% of the time, we both agree the weather is what it is. It provides a sandbox mode for the relationship.
A sandbox mode, like in a video game.
Exactly. A practice area. We can test the waters. I can check your tone, your eye contact, your sense of humor, your body language.
Yeah.
All while discussing something that absolutely does not matter.
So I'm gathering data on you, the person, using the weather as a vehicle.
You are. Once we agree on the weather, then we can maybe move to sports, then maybe work, then maybe eventually, after many, many interactions, life. It's a ladder of intimacy, and the first rung is boring.
It's a calibration tool. It's like an orchestra tuning their instruments before they play the concerto. All those individual notes sound a bit random, but if you don't do it, the main performance is a disaster.
That is a perfect analogy. And if you refuse to tune your instrument, if you think you are above talking about the weather, you aren't being deep. You're being socially incompetent in that specific culture. You're refusing to calibrate.
Okay, I'm sold on the why. I don't want to be the friction guy. I want to be the smooth operator. But let's talk about the how, because the source material, Emma and John, they're pretty harsh on the standard script. The old, hi, how are you? Good, thanks, you.
Oh, yeah. They call that rookie league. It's the absolute beginner level.
Why? It's polite, isn't it? I mean, it gets the job done. It's a phatic expression.
It is polite, but it is a dead end. It's a reflex. It's like when the doctor hits your knee with a little hammer. You kick. You don't think about it. How are you?
Good.
You.
Good.
End of script. It's over. You haven't actually built anything. You've just engaged in a reflexive loop. The interaction is technically complete, but no rapport has been built.
So it's like a computer program that just runs and then terminates.
Exactly. If you want to move to a C2 level, a native level fluency, You need to break the script. You need what they call the observational pivot.
The observational pivot. This is our first major actionable tool today. Break it down for us. What does this look like in the wild?
The observational pivot is based on the concept of triangulation.
Triangulation. Okay, now we're doing geometry. Explain that.
But with me, in a bad conversation or a high-pressure one like that elevator scenario, there are 2 points. Me and you, we are staring at each other. It's intense. It feels like an interrogation.
Okay, you. It is your turn to speak now.
Yes, the spotlight is on you. The observational pivot adds a 3rd point to the triangle, the environment.
So instead of looking at me, we both look at the lamp.
Or the long line we are standing in. Or the broken coffee machine. Or the weird jazz music playing in the elevator. By focusing on a 3rd neutral object, we take the pressure off of each other.
I see.
We're no longer staring face to face.
Yeah.
We're standing shoulder to shoulder, looking at a shared reality.
That's a powerful mental shift. It changes the entire dynamic from confrontation to collaboration.
Exactly. The source gives a classic example. You're standing in line for coffee. It's taking forever. The rookie stands there and looks at their phone, trying to disappear into the screen.
Which is what 95% of people do.
Right. But the master observes the situation, catches the eye of the person next to them, and pivots to the environment.
The specific line they quoted was, "At this rate, we'll need lunch by the time we get our coffee."
Which is perfect. Let's break down why that's so good.
Okay. It's simple. It's not Shakespeare. It's not some hilarious stand-up comedy routine.
It doesn't need to be Shakespeare. In fact, it shouldn't be. Overly clever comments can be off-putting.
Yeah.
It needs to be relatable. What did that comment achieve? First, it's safer than asking a personal question. I'm not asking about your job or your family.
Right, I'm not putting you on the spot.
Second, and this is key, it utilizes the shared misery tactic.
Shared misery. I love that term. Why do humans bond over misery? That seems so counterintuitive.
It's the us against the world mentality. Even if the world is just a slow barista or a traffic jam. If we are both victims of this minor inconvenience, we are suddenly on the same team. We are allies.
It creates an instant, temporary in-group. We, the people waiting for coffee, against the forces of slow coffee.
Yes, you've instantly created a we. And that is a huge step.
Yeah.
And it invites a specific type of response, right? It invites a laugh, a small chuckle.
And an agreement.
It invites a laugh and an agreement. I know, right? Or tell me about it. That's the golden response. If you can get a stranger to say, I know, right? You have successfully opened the gate. You have passed the vetting process. You have established that you both see the world in the same way, at least for this one tiny moment.
But here is where I get stuck, and I think a lot of our listeners get stuck here too. What if the environment is boring? What if we are just in a beige hallway? What do I pivot to then? The texture of the drywall.
There's always something. And this is where you have to train your noticing muscle. Emma and John suggest looking for the small absurdity. Is the carpet incredibly ugly? Is the air conditioning freezing cold? Is the poster on the wall from 2015?
I think this flyer for the company holiday party is 3 years old.
Boom. Observational pivot. You aren't judging the person. You are judging the flyer with the person. You are inviting them to join you in noticing the absurdity of reality.
So it takes the pressure off me to be interesting. I just have to be observant.
Exactly. You aren't the entertainment. The world is the entertainment. You are just the one pointing at it. And note the tone here. It has to be light. It has to be bemused.
Right. If you sound genuinely angry, it's a different vibe.
A completely different vibe. If you say, this line is a disaster and I hate this place, that's too heavy. That's aggression. Now you're the complainer. You're a threat.
Right. You don't want to be the angry guy. You want to be the bemused observer.
The phrase, can you believe this, implies we are in this together. The phrase, this sucks, implies I am a threat and I might be unstable. The nuance is absolutely key.
Okay, so we've pointed at the ancient flyer. We've had a small laugh. The gate is open. We are triangulation masters. Now we are actually talking. And this brings us to the most colorful part of the source material, the fruit metaphor.
The peach and the coconut.
It sounds like a cocktail recipe, but it's actually some really deep cultural psychology. Set the stage for us here.
This is a concept that goes back to Kurt Lewin, a famous psychologist. But Emma and John use it to explain the heartbreak that many foreigners feel in the U.S.
Heartbreak. That seems like an extreme word for office chit-chat.
I don't think it is. I think it's genuine heartbreak. Because they misread the signal so profoundly. So let's start with the coconut.
Okay.
Imagine a coconut. Many cultures think Germany, Russia, France, parts of Eastern Europe are coconuts. They have a hard, tough outer shell.
Hard to crack.
Very hard to crack. On the outside, they don't smile at strangers. They don't chit-chat in line. They can seem cold, tough, maybe even rude to an American. You have to work for it.
Okay, so it takes a lot of effort to get through that shell.
A lot of effort. But, and this is the most important part, once you get through that shell, once you are inside, you are in. The inside is soft, sweet, and nutritious. You are family. A coconut friend will help you move house at 4 a.m. in a snowstorm. They are loyal for life.
The access is hard, but the loyalty is deep.
Incredibly deep. Okay, so that's the coconut. Now let's look at the American, the peach.
The peach, a very different fruit.
A totally opposite structure. The outside is soft, it's fuzzy, it's sweet. You can bite right into it. There's very little resistance.
And this represents that American friendliness.
That initial friendliness, yes. We smile at everyone. We ask, "How are you?" to the cashier we will never see again. We tell you our life story in the first 5 minutes of meeting you. We say things like, "We should totally get together sometime."
We seem incredibly open. We seem like we want to be best friends immediately.
We seem unbelievably open. And this is where the learner, the person from a coconut culture, gets tricks. They think, wow, this person is smiling at me. They asked about my weekend. They told me about their kids. We are best friends. I have cracked the shell.
But there is no shell. Or the shell is somewhere else.
The shell is somewhere else. In the middle of the peach is the pit. The hard, wooden, impenetrable pit. That is the private self, the inner circle. And just because you are swimming in the soft, friendly peach flesh doesn't mean you are anywhere near that pit.
So the learner from the coconut culture assumes, we are friends, so now I can ask you to help me move at 4 a.m. And the American goes, whoa, back off. I barely know you. Why are you calling me?
Exactly. The American recoils in shock, and the learner feels deeply betrayed. They think, you acted like my friend, but you are fake. You are superficial.
But the American isn't being fake. They're just being a peach.
They're being a peach. The softness is a public utility, not a private promise.
Wow. The softness is a public utility. That is such a crucial distinction. It's the social standard. It's manners.
It's manners. It's not intimacy. Being friendly to a stranger is simply the baseline requirement for being a polite member of society in the U.S. It doesn't imply a desire for a deeper relationship. That has to be earned over a long time.
So let's apply this to a real-world scenario. The source material talks about the water cooler trap in the workplace.
The Monday morning meeting. This is the classic peach scenario. You walk in, you are a serious professional, maybe from a coconut culture. You want to show you're competent. You want to discuss the project.
You're ready to talk about the Q3 spreadsheets?
You are, but your American colleague, we'll call her Susan, she walks up and says, hey, how was your weekend? Did you do anything fun?
Okay. Now, if I'm a coconut, or just a very literal-minded person, I might think, why is Susan asking this? Does she really want to know that I argued with my landlord and my cat is sick and I'm having a low-grade existential crisis?
If you dump your actual messy human problems on Susan, you have just hit her with the pit.
Don't hit Susan with the pit.
Don't hit Susan with the pit. You've gone too deep, too fast. You have violated the peach code. You have made the soft skin interaction heavy and awkward, and now Susan is looking for an escape route.
So what is the correct response? Because I don't want to lie and say my weekend was amazing, but I also don't want to overshare and make it weird.
The source has a great term for this. They call it the highlight reel.
Like on Sports Center, just the goals and the big plays, not the whole boring game.
Exactly. When a colleague asks, how was your weekend? Oh, they are asking for the trailer, not the movie. They want a curated, positive, brief summary.
They want to know that you're a functioning human who does things outside of work.
Yes, but they do not want the emotional burden of your reality. It's not their job. The workplace is not the place for that kind of intimacy with casual colleagues.
So give us some examples of a good highlight reel response.
It was great. Went for a hike upstate. The weather was perfect. How about you? Or, pretty quiet weekend. Just caught up on some reading. Really needed the rest. You.
Notice a couple things there. It's positive, or at least neutral. It's brief. And I noticed this. It immediately bounces the ball back.
That is the second half of the equation, and it's absolutely critical. You have to keep it light, but you also have to reciprocate. You have to show interest.
Accessible, but private. That is a really hard balance to strike. You have to be open enough to not seem cold, but closed enough to not be an oversharer.
It is a paradox. Be open, but don't be too open. But once you visualize the peach, it starts to make sense. You want to stay in the flesh, don't hit them with your pit, your deep personal problems, and don't pretend you're a coconut, refusing to talk at all.
Stay in the fuzzy zone.
Stay in the fuzzy zone. That's the goal.
I love that. Stay in the fuzzy zone. Now, you mentioned bouncing the ball back. This brings us to the next big analogy from Emma and John. They compare conversation to a sport.
A tennis match.
Which I think is so helpful because it gives you a clear objective. You aren't just making noise anymore. You are playing a game with a set of rules.
And the fundamental rule is reciprocity. The volley.
Explain the volley in this context.
Imagine we're on a tennis court. I serve you a ball. I ask, how was your weekend? The ball flies over the net. It's a nice, easy serve. You catch it. You say, it was good. And then you put the ball in your pocket.
I just stand there holding it. I answered the question. My job is done.
You stand there on the tennis court. The game stops. I'm on the other side of the net, racket ready, waiting for the ball to come back. You are just staring at me. It gets awkward very, very fast.
That is the silence we talked about at the beginning. That painful, dying silence.
That is the fatal error. The source material is emphatic about this. You cannot just answer the question. You must answer and return the serve.
And the return is usually as simple as, how about you?
Or, what did you get up to? Or, did you catch the game last night? You have to hit the ball back over the net. If you don't, you are signaling, even if you don't mean to, that you want the game to end.
You're signaling, I am not interested in you.
That's exactly how it's read. And that shuts the gate.
Slam shut. The vetting process is over. You failed. The other person walks away thinking, well, they didn't want to talk to me. I guess they're not very friendly.
And this is so important because, as you mentioned, the reason people do this is often not malice.
Right. I think some people do this because they are being polite in their own cultural framework. They think, oh, I shouldn't pry. I shouldn't ask questions about their life. That's intrusive.
That is a classic cultural mismatch. In some cultures, not asking questions is a sign of respect. It respects privacy. In the U.S. and many other peach cultures, not asking questions is seen as disinterest or even arrogance.
It's interpreted as narcissism. Oh, you're too good to ask about my weekend.
Yes, you only want to talk about yourself, so you must ask to show you care about the connection.
So rule number 1 of the tennis match, hit the ball back. Okay. Rule number 2, keep it in bounds. We need to talk about safe territory.
Right. The conversational playing court. We all know the third rail topics, right? Politics, religion, money.
Why do we call them the third rail? Where does that come from?
It's a subway metaphor. The third rail on the tracks carries the high voltage electricity. If you touch the third rail, you get electrocuted. You die.
Okay, very clear metaphor.
In small talk, if you bring up the election or a controversial social issue with a stranger, the conversation dies instantly. Or worse, it explodes into a nasty argument.
So where do we play tennis? If I can't talk about God or the president or how much I make, what is the safe court?
The source suggests 2 universal safe zones that are just perfect for this: pop culture and food.
Why these 2 specifically? I mean, isn't arguing about whether a hot dog is a sandwich still an argument?
It is. And that's precisely why it works. They allow for opinions, but the opinions are low stakes. We go right back to that safety concept. If I say, I've finally tried that new taco place downtown, it was amazing, you say, really? I thought the salsa was way too watery. We have a disagreement.
A conflict. We're fighting.
But it's a safe conflict. I'm not going to hate you because you don't like watery salsa. I might question your taste buds, but I won't question your morality. We can debate tacos for 10 minutes. We can bond over our difference of opinion.
Versus if we debate tax policy.
Then I might judge your entire moral character based on your opinion. That's high stakes. If you disagree with me on taxes, I might think you are a fundamentally bad person. If you disagree on tacos, you're just wrong about tacos.
It's about finding the lowest common denominator of connection.
That's it. We all eat. Most of us watch screens. Start there. Find some common ground. Have you seen that new show on HBO? Did you try the cronuts from that bakery?
It's about building a bridge with light materials first. You don't drive a tank across a bridge made of toothpicks. You start with the tacos and the TV shows.
Beautiful analogy. Test the structural integrity of the relationship with tacos. Once the bridge is strong, maybe then, months or years later, you can drive the tank of political discourse across it, but not on day 1 in the elevator.
Okay, this is all making so much sense. So we've pivoted in the coffee line using triangulation. We have avoided being a coconut and embraced our inner peach. We have played a nice, safe set of tennis about the new HBO show. But now, the coffee is ready. Or the elevator arrives at my floor. Or, to be honest, I'm just done talking.
The escape, the most difficult maneuver of all.
This is the part that gives me the most anxiety. For real, how do I leave without it being weird? I can't just turn around and walk away.
No, bye is too final. It's too abrupt. Remember, the goal of this entire system is to avoid friction. To just walk away is to create a massive amount of friction. You need a transition. You need to signal that the interaction is ending before it actually ends.
And the source gave us this incredible concept of polite fiction. I am obsessed with this term. It sounds like a literary genre from the 18th century.
It is the essence of American, and I'd say many Anglo cultures, etiquette. Polite fiction is the art of lying to be nice.
Put that on a t-shirt. Polite fiction, lying to be nice.
It sounds cynical, but it's actually profoundly pro-social. To understand this, we need to touch on a linguistics concept called face, specifically negative face once.
Negative face.
Well,
That sounds like I'm frowning or I'm unhappy.
no, it's not about facial expressions. In pragmatics, positive face is our desire to be liked and appreciated. Negative face is our desire to be free from imposition, to have autonomy, to not be trapped.
So when I keep talking to you, I might be threatening your negative face. I'm imposing on you. I'm trapping you in the conversation.
Exactly. The longer a conversation goes, the more it becomes an imposition on someone's time and freedom. So, a polite fiction is a way to exit that honors the other person's negative face. It frames the departure not as your desire to leave, but as a favor to the other person.
Okay, unpack that. That's a mind bender. I want to leave, but I act like I'm doing you a favor by leaving.
Precisely. Look at the graceful exit phrases the source provided. They are brilliant. Well, I don't want to keep you. I should probably let you get back to it. I'd better let you run.
I'd better let you run. I use that 5 times a day, and I never once thought about what it actually means.
Think about the grammar. I had better let you run.
Yeah.
It implies that you are the busy, important one. You have important things to do. And I, being the considerate, thoughtful friend that I am going to step aside so you can go be awesome.
That is genius, because the reality might be that I am bored out of my mind and I want to go scroll TikTok in the bathroom.
Correct. But you can't say, you are boring me, I'm going to the bathroom now.
Yeah.
That completely destroys the peach skin. It creates massive friction. It insults their positive face, their desire to be liked.
But saying, I know you're super busy, I'll let you run, protects the relationship. It validates their time. It makes them feel important, even.
It's a face-saving maneuver for both sides. It allows you to extract yourself from the interaction without breaking the connection or causing any damage. It ties a neat little bow on the conversation. It signals, we are still good, the connection is strong, this interaction is just concluding now.
It's what the source called a sophisticated social maneuver. And it really is. It requires you to read the room and execute a little white lie for the sake of social harmony.
And notice the body language that usually goes with it. You don't just say it while standing still face to face. You check your watch, even if it's a fake look. You shift your weight to your back foot. You physically start to turn your body, pointing your toes toward the door.
The pre-closing signals. You're telegraphing the end.
Exactly. You signal with your body, I'm about to leave. Then you use the polite fiction to verbally seal the deal. It softens the blow.
Then the funny thing is, the other person is usually relieved.
Laughing. That is the beautiful irony of the whole thing. They're probably standing there thinking, oh my God, how do I get out of this? I have so much work to do. And when you say, well, I'll let you run, they aren't offended. They're thinking, oh, thank God, yes, I must run. I am very busy. You are their hero.
You are liberating them from the conversation you started.
You are the liberator. You have given them their negative face back. You've given them their freedom.
So if we look back at this whole journey today, we started with the dread in the elevator, that feeling that small talk is this meaningless, inauthentic waste of time. But I think we've successfully dismantled that.
I really hope so. We've seen that what looks like nothing, the weather, the polite excuses, the fuzzy peach skin, is actually doing a tremendous amount of heavy lifting for the culture.
It's the infrastructure of society. It's the hidden operating system that's running in the background all the time.
It is. You cannot have the deep without the shallow. You cannot get to the pit of the peach without first navigating the skin and the flesh. If you try to hack the system, if you try to force deep intimacy too fast, or if you ignore the social rituals, you just end up isolated. You end up being the friction.
So for our listeners, especially for you, if you felt that frustration, that feeling of why are Americans so superficial, the challenge is to change the lens. Don't look at it as superficiality. Look at it as a game.
A game with rules, a strategy. When someone asks, how are you? They are pinging your server to see if you're online. When they talk about the weather, they are calibrating the connection. When they use a polite fiction to leave, they are carefully maintaining the social fabric.
It really empowers you. Instead of being a victim of the awkward silence, you become the active player. You can pivot, you can volley, you can exit gracefully.
And once you know the rules, it stops being so scary. It might even become fun. You'll start noticing the peaches and coconuts everywhere. You'll start analyzing interactions in real time. Oh, he just did an observational pivot. She just used a polite fiction on me.
It's like seeing the Matrix. You see the code behind the interactions.
You do. You see the algorithm at work.
So, here is your mission, if you choose to accept it. The next time you're out in the world, maybe in the break room tomorrow, maybe in line at the grocery store, don't retreat into your phone. Look up.
Find a pivot. Find something weird or funny or just there in the environment. Make a small comment. See if you can get that shared misery laugh. See if you can triangulate with a stranger.
And practice your tennis swing. When someone asks you a question, answer it, but force yourself to add, how about you, even if you don't really care. Just ask the question. Hit the ball back.
And finally, try the polite fiction. The next time you are stuck on a call that's going too long or in a chat that's wrapping up, use the magic words. Well, I don't want to keep you. Just feel the power of the graceful exit.
Be the one who lets them run.
Be the benevolent liar.
Exactly. Well, speaking of which, looking at the time here, I know you have a stack of research to get back to, so I should probably let you go.
I do, sadly. The research never sleeps, and I certainly wouldn't want to keep our listeners any longer than necessary. Their time is valuable.
See what we did there? It's so meta.
Polite fiction in action. Masterclass.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been, as always, a pleasure peeling back the layers of the peach with you.
A pleasure. Keep observing, everyone.
We'll see you in the next one. I better let you run.
I want you to visualize a scenario for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean, some vague idea. I really want you to put yourself there.
Okay.
You're standing in a room. It could be anywhere. A friend's barbecue, maybe, or a networking thing with that, like lukewarm white wine.
The classic.
The classic.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just the break room at work. And the coffee machine is making that agonizingly slow dripping sound.
I'm there. I can hear it.
You are standing across from another human being. You know them, but you don't know them.
The acquaintance zone.
Exactly. The acquaintance zone. And you have just spent the last, say, 90 seconds talking about the weather.
Mm-hmm.
You've covered the humidity.
Yeah.
You've talked about the forecast. You've maybe even thrown in a little jab about the traffic on the way over.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tank runs dry.
Uh-oh.
There's absolutely nothing left to say about the atmospheric conditions. And a silence descends.
The lull.
The lull. It's not just a pause, is it? It feels heavy. It feels like the air pressure in the room just bottomed out. You look at them, they look at you, and your brain just starts screaming, say something, anything, just make a noise.
And that is almost always the moment when people completely humiliate themselves.
Oh, 100%. That is the exact moment. I will blurt out something completely insane like, so, bread is good, right? Or, I don't know, do you like floors? It's a physiological panic response. It truly is.
It is. It's the universal social nightmare. But what's so fascinating to me, and this is really what we're going to dig into today, is why that moment feels so terrifying.
Right.
We treat conversation like it should be this totally organic biological instinct,
Well,
like breathing or digesting food. We think, I have a mouth, I have a brain, I speak English, so therefore I should be able to talk to anyone.
but that's the trap.
Yeah.
Just because you can speak, that doesn't mean you can converse.
Precisely. Conversation isn't an instinct, it's a skill. It's an architectural structure.
An architecture.
And when you're standing there in that break room and the silence hits, that panic you're feeling, it isn't because you're a bad person. It's because the structure has collapsed.
And you don't have a blueprint.
You don't have a blueprint for what happens next.
And that is exactly why I am so obsessed with the source material we're covering today. We're doing a deep dive into something that at first might sound a little unusual. We're looking at a breakdown of conversational dynamics from the Learning English podcast.
Right.
Now, hold on, before you, the listener, tune out, because you're a native speaker. This is not about vocabulary flashcards. This is an analysis of C2 proficiency level conversation.
Which is a really important distinction to make. C2 is, it's the highest level of mastery in language learning frameworks. It's often described as near native or mastery. But honestly, a lot of native speakers don't operate at a C2 level in their own daily lives.
That feels like a bold claim. Are you saying native speakers are bad at their own language?
I'm saying they're often bad at the architecture of connection. C2 isn't just about knowing big words. It's about nuance. It's about cultural subtext. And it's about managing the psychology of the person you're talking to. The source material we have today, and specifically the insights from the hosts, Emma and John, is basically a masterclass in social psychology disguised as a language lesson.
I love that. Social psychology disguised as a language lesson. Because when I was reading through this, I kept having these like light bulb moments where I'd think, oh my God, I do that wrong every single day.
Me too.
We're going to unpack this concept of medium talk, which I'd never even heard of before. We're going to look at the side project phenomenon, which is apparently a very, very American obsession. And we're going to learn how to survive the silence.
And not just survive it, but actually use it.
Right, use it. But before we get to the, fancy maneuvers, we have to start where every conversation starts. We have to start at the front door. The source material uses this really compelling metaphor of a house.
The house metaphor is brilliant because it spatializes the interaction. It gives you a map. And that first room, the one you absolutely cannot avoid, is the lobby.
The lobby, also known as small talk.
Yes.
Now, I have to be honest. I hate the lobby. I hate small talk with a passion. It feels like this mindless, robotic ritual. How are you? Good. Crazy weather we're having. Yeah. It just feels like such a waste of time. Why can't we just skip it?
Wow.
Why can't I just walk up to someone and say, tell me about your deepest childhood fear?
Well, I mean, you can do that, but you're probably going to get security called on you.
That's a fair point.
Here's the thing about the lobby. We tend to dismiss small talk as what linguists call phatic communication, meaning it's speech that has a social function, but no real informational value.
Right.
When you say, how are you, you're not actually asking for a full medical diagnosis.
No, God, no. Please don't give me one.
You're signaling.
Signaling what, though?
You're signaling, I am a normal human. I am not a threat. I understand the basic social codes of this environment. It's a calibration mechanism.
A calibration?
Yeah. If you skip the lobby and just kick down the door to the living room where all the deep personal stuff lives, you haven't established any safety yet.
So the lobby is basically a security checkpoint.
In a way, yes. The source calls it the entry fee. You have to pay the fee to get into the event. If you try to sneak in without paying, people get defensive. Their walls go up immediately.
Okay, so if I'm at that barbecue and I ask about the humidity, I'm basically just flashing my ID badge. I'm saying, look, I observe our shared reality. The sky is blue. I am sane.
Correct. And that's necessary. The problem isn't that we have to go through the lobby. The problem, and this is where all that anxiety comes from, is that we get stuck in the lobby.
Yes, that is exactly it. We pay the entry fee, we get inside, but then we just stand there holding the ticket. Yeah. We have no idea how to move into the actual house.
And the lobby is a terrible place to live. It's cold, it's drafty, the furniture is uncomfortable. You cannot build a relationship in the lobby.
Right.
You can't build rapport by agreeing that, traffic is bad. Yeah. You can only verify that you both exist in the same physical space.
So how do we get out? This is the core of today's deep dive. The source material introduces this concept that I think is the key to everything. They call it medium talk.
Medium talk. It's such a great term because it's not one you hear often.
No.
We usually think in a binary, right? There's small talk and then there's deep talk, surface versus soul.
Right. Weather versus trauma.
Exactly. But the source argues that there is this massive, crucial territory right in between those two extremes.
Sweet spot.
The bridge. If small talk is, it's raining, and deep talk is, my relationship with my father is largely based on unresolved trauma, then medium talk is.
What?
It's, I'm planning a trip to Italy next month.
Or, I've been really getting into gardening lately.
Exactly. It's personal, but it's not private.
I like that distinction.
It's interesting, but it's not dangerous. It's the safe middle ground where you can actually start to see the other person's personality, but you're not demanding a level of vulnerability they aren't ready to give.
So the source material, it lists a few categories for this: travel, food, media, that kind of thing. But they highlight one specific topic as the absolute gold standard for American conversation. And I found this so culturally fascinating.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
They say the ultimate medium talk topic is the side project.
This is such a sharp cultural insight. It really, really speaks to the hustle culture that just permeates the U.S.
Totally.
In a lot of other cultures, say in France or parts of Southern Europe, if you ask someone at a party, what do you do? It's considered a bit gauche, a bit boring.
Like, why are we talking about labor?
Yeah, I am here to enjoy my life.
I am drinking this delicious wine. Why are you asking me about my spreadsheets?
But in the U.S., our identity is so tightly coupled with doing. We are what we produce. But And here's the really interesting nuance. We're increasingly defining ourselves not by our 9-to-5 jobs, but by what we choose to do outside of them.
The passion project, the side hustle.
Yes. The novel you're trying to write, the sourdough starter you're desperately trying to keep alive, the vintage motorcycle you're restoring in your garage.
Okay, so why is this such a powerful conversational tool? Why is asking, so what are you working on?
Yeah.
So much better than the standard, what do you do for a living?
Well, just think about the energy behind the answer you're likely to get. If you ask, what do you do for a living? For, I don't know, 80% of people, you are asking them to recite a script they are completely bored with.
I'm a project manager for a mid-sized logistics firm. I'm already asleep.
Exactly. They're bored saying it. You're bored hearing it. It's a conversational dead end. But if you ask, what's keeping you busy outside of work? Or what are you working on these days? You are giving them permission to pivot to their passion.
You're inviting the best version of them to the table. The most excited version.
You are handing them a microphone and saying, tell me what you love. And here's the thing. Even if they don't have a monetized side hustle, which, let's be real, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
People usually have something they're fixated on.
I actually tried this recently. I was at this dinner thing, and I could feel the lull coming.
Yeah.
You know, that dreaded silence.
Here it comes.
And I asked this guy, so what's your side project right now? And he didn't have a business, but his whole face lit up. And he started talking about how he's trying to watch every single movie that won Best Picture in order since 1970.
That is perfect medium talk.
It was amazing. We immediately got into this argument about The Godfather versus The Sting. It flowed instantly.
Because you gave him a hook. You moved from the lobby, which is just, generic existence, into the living room, which is about personal taste and opinion.
But what if they say nothing? I feel like that's the big fear. You ask, what are you working on? And they just say, man, I just go home and stare at the wall.
That's a risk for sure. But even there, an advanced conversationalist, someone who is using this architecture, can work with that.
How?
If they say, I just watch Netflix, you don't retreat. You don't say, oh, cool. You pivot to the content itself. You say, okay, what are you watching? Is it any good? Or is it one of those things you hate watching?
So you turn the consumption into the project of watching Netflix.
Exactly. You frame their passivity as an activity. Are you a binger? Or do you try to ration the episodes? Now you're talking about consumption habits, willpower, storytelling. You're right back in the game.
That's the gamification aspect of all this. It feels like you're constantly looking for a foothold, a little crack you can get a grip on.
You are. You're a climber looking for the next handhold.
So we've moved from small talk to medium talk using the side project question. We're on the bridge. But asking the question is only the start. This is where I think most of us, myself included, really fail. We ask the question, we get the answer, and then we don't know what to do with it.
This is the serve and volley trap.
The tennis metaphor.
Right. Most people treat conversation like a game of beginner tennis. I serve the ball you hit it back, point over, we reset.
Right. How was your weekend?
Good, I went hiking.
Cool.
Fail.
That cool is deadly.
It's a conversation killer. It's the period at the end of the sentence. It's basically saying, I have received your data and I am now terminating this file.
It's transactional. It's efficient, sure, but efficiency is the enemy of rapport. You aren't trying to file a report. You're trying to weave a web.
A web.
The source material talks about the advanced mindset here. The C2 speaker doesn't see the answer, I went hiking, as the end of the road. They see it as a menu.
A menu. What do you mean?
Yes. The sentence, I went hiking, has multiple ingredients you can choose from. Okay, break it down.
Ingredient 1, hiking. The physical activity itself. Ingredient 2, nature, the location. Ingredient 3, the weekend, which is about time management and leisure. And ingredient 4, the feeling of the experience, which is implied.
So the advanced move is to pick an item off that menu and order it.
Exactly. The beginner says, cool. The expert digs deeper. The source suggests a follow-up question like, oh, nice. Do you prefer the trails upstate or do you tend to stick closer to the city?
Let's break down why that specific question works so well. Because on the surface, it's just a geography question. But it's doing so much more than that.
It is. Step 1, it proves you listened. That's the bare minimum.
Table stakes.
Table stakes. But step 2 is that it introduces a new variable. Preference. You aren't just asking for a fact, like where did you go? You're asking for an opinion. What do you prefer?
Facts are boring. Opinions are interesting.
Facts end the conversation. Opinions open it up. If I tell you, I went to Bear Mountain, that's a fact. The conversation stops. But if I tell you, I prefer Bear Mountain because the trails are steeper and I hate crowds, Now we have 3 brand new topics,
It's deepness,
which is about challenge, crowds,
which is about misanthropy.
and preference, which is about personal values.
So misanthropy is a conversational hook. I love it.
Hey, a mutual dislike of crowds is a fantastic bonding experience.
It really is. I hate people too. Let's be friends.
But this leads to what I think is the single most powerful technique in the entire source material. And this is the one I want our listeners to, tattoo on their brains. The authors call it the why disguised as what.
This is such a subtle ninja move. It's brilliant.
It is. Here's the psychology behind it. If you ask someone why directly, it can sometimes trigger a defensive response. Why do you like hiking? Why do you live in that neighborhood? Why did you choose that job?
It sounds like an interrogation. It sounds like I have to justify my choices to you. Why do you like hiking? I don't know. I just do get off my back.
It puts the amygdala, the threat detection center of the brain, on high alert. Feels judgmental. It feels like a job interview. But if you rephrase that why question as a what question, the entire emotional tone flips.
So instead of why do you like hiking,
Yeah.
the source suggests asking.
What is it about hiking that you enjoy?
What is it about hiking that you enjoy? It's functionally the exact same question. It's asking for the reason. But it feels so much softer, so much more inviting.
It shifts the focus from the person justify yourself to the object describe the experience. It invites description. It invites sensory details.
And when people start describing, they start feeling.
Bingo. They won't just say, because it is good exercise. That's a boring why answer. They'll say something like, I just love the silence in the woods. I love the smell of the pine needles after it rains. I love that moment when you finally reach the summit and your legs are burning, but you can see for miles.
And now we are firmly in the living room. We're not talking about boots or trail maps anymore. We're talking about silence, sensory pleasure, and the feeling of achievement.
We have moved from a factual exchange to an emotional exchange. And that right there is the definition of rapport. You're connecting on values. Oh, I value silence too. I also value a good physical challenge.
Let's try another example just to really hammer this home. Let's say someone's side project is perfecting their carbonara.
Okay, the carbonara project. I like it.
The beginner asks, why do you like cooking carbonara? And the answer is probably something like, because it tastes good. Boring. Conversation dead.
Total dead end. Now you tried the why disguised as what?
Okay, what is it about carbonara that makes it such a fun dish to cook?
Good. Or even better, get more specific. What's the most challenging part of getting the carbonara just right?
Ooh, that's a good one. Because now I have to talk about the eggs. Well, the hardest part is definitely tempering the eggs so they don't scramble. You have to get the temperature of the pasta water just right.
And now you're sharing a struggle. You're sharing a small vulnerability. I keep failing at this one specific part, and it's frustrating.
And then I can jump in with, oh, I totally get that. I tried to make a souffle once, and it collapsed into this sad, eggy pancake. Cooking can be heartbreaking.
And just like that, you are bonding over the shared heartbreak of culinary failure. That is a real conversation. That is medium talk, smoothly transitioning towards deep talk.
And all it took was swapping why for what's the hardest part.
It's a simple linguistic shift that completely bypasses the ego's natural defenses.
Okay, so we've navigated the lobby. We've used the side project to build a bridge to medium talk. We're using the why disguised as what to build a real emotional connection. But even the best architects run into structural failure sometimes.
The crisis of silence.
The source material has some really funny data on this. Apparently, Americans are chemically incapable of handling silence in a conversation.
It is a profound cultural anxiety. The source references the 3-second rule. Linguists have actually studied this. In American English conversation, if a pause lasts longer than about 3 or 4 seconds, it registers as a social emergency.
A social emergency. I feel that in my bones. My palms start sweating. My heart rate goes up. I start thinking, they hate me. I'm boring. This is a complete disaster.
And what's so interesting is that this is not a universal human trait.
Yeah.
In Finland, for example, long silences are totally standard. It's considered respectful. It shows you're actually thinking about what the other person said. In Japan, silence can be a form of communal bonding. It's comfortable.
But in the U.S., silence is a vacuum. And nature abhors a vacuum.
And the American ego abhors a vacuum. We interpret that silence as a failure of our performance. We think, I am failing to entertain this person.
So what do? We hit the panic button.
We throw what I call a noise grenade. We just blurt out something totally irrelevant to break the tension.
This is where the classic I like your shoes comment comes from, isn't it?
It's the quintessential noise grenade. And let's analyze why that's actually a bad move. On the surface, a compliment seems nice, right? Harmless?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
But in the context of the conversation, it's a non sequitur. We were just having this intimate moment bonding over our failed soufflés, and suddenly you pivot to my footwear.
It's jarring. It completely derails the train of thought.
It signals desperation. It tells the other person, I wasn't actually following the emotional thread of our conversation. I was just scanning the room for an escape hatch.
And it resets the whole conversation back to the lobby.
Precisely. You're back to surface level observation of weather, traffic, shoes. You've just kicked yourself out of the living room you worked so hard to get into.
You retreated.
Exactly.
So if we can't panic and we can't throw noise grenades, what is the advanced move? The source material borrows a term from stand-up comedy here, which I think is just brilliant.
The callback.
I love this concept so much. Can you explain how a callback works in comedy first?
Sure. So in a stand-up special, a comedian might tell a joke in the first 5 minutes about, I don't know, their weird cat. It gets a laugh. Then they move on. They talk about politics, dating, whatever. Then 40 minutes later, they're telling a completely different story about a bad date, and right at the end, they drop a reference to the weird cat.
And the audience goes crazy.
They explode. Why? Because it rewards attention. It makes the audience feel smart. Oh, I remember that. I'm in on the joke. It creates a closed loop. It makes the whole hour feel cohesive and intentional, not just a random list of jokes.
Okay, so how do we apply that to a normal conversation in a break room?
You treat the conversation like a stand-up set. You are actively collecting material as you go. When that lull hits, you don't look at the environment for new material. You don't look at their shoes or the weather outside. You look backward at the conversation you just had.
You scan the transcript in your head.
Yeah. Yes. So let's say 10 minutes ago, during the medium talk phase, the person mentioned they were stressed because they're in the middle of a kitchen renovation, but the conversation drifted away from that and you started talking about movies. Now you hit a silence instead of nice shoes, you say.
So you mentioned earlier that the kitchen renovation is a nightmare. Is that taking up all your free time these days?
Boom.
You nailed it.
It feels, I don't know, magical. Why does that work so well? It seems so simple.
It works on 3 distinct levels. Level 1, it instantly solves the silence problem. You have a new topic.
Okay.
Level 2, it returns to a safe, established medium topic, the renovation, no risk. But level 3 is the most important one. It is the highest form of flattery.
Flattery. How is that flattery?
It proves active listening. It tells the other person, I heard you, I cataloged that detail, it mattered to me, and I am interested enough in you as a person to bring it back up.
It says you are memorable. Exactly. Most people listen with the intent to reply. They're just waiting for their turn to talk. If you use a callback, you prove you were listening with the intent to understand. You prove you were present.
And that creates a feeling of an inside joke, doesn't it? Even if it's just about something mundane, like kitchen tile. It's our topic now, we share it.
It weaves a thread between the two of you. It turns the conversation from a straight line that's about to fall off a cliff into a loop, a web. It's structural reinforcement.
This requires some mental RAM, though. You really have to be paying attention. You can't be zoning out and thinking about your grocery list.
That's why it's a C2 skill. It requires cognitive load. But think about the alternative. The alternative is the raw panic of the silence. I would argue that keeping track of a few interesting details is actually less exhausting than the adrenaline spike of, oh God, what do I say now?
That's a great point. The anxiety is incredibly draining. The architecture is just work, but it's productive work.
It's a game. If you gamify it in your head, okay, I need to collect 3 callback tokens from this person, it becomes fun. You stop worrying about your own performance and you start studying them.
I need a token. Tell me more about that renovation.
Exactly. You become an investigator. And investigators are never awkward because they always have a mission.
I love that framing. Be an investigator, not a performer.
Yes.
Okay, so we've used the callback to loop the conversation. We've kept it alive and deepened it. But eventually, all good things must come to an end. And this brings us to the final, and maybe most difficult, piece of the architecture. The exit.
The graceful exit.
Why is this so hard? I feel like I have stayed in conversations for 20 minutes longer than I wanted to, just because I didn't know how to leave without feeling like a jerk.
We all have. We feel like we're being held hostage. We wait for a natural break that never seems to come, and it just gets more and more awkward. The energy completely drains out, and you end up just staring at each other.
And then you do the whelp. You know, you slap your knees and you say, well, I guess.
Yeah. The Midwestern knee slap, it's a classic desperation move. But the source material argues that the exit is actually a high-status maneuver if you do it right.
High status. What does that mean?
Yes. The person who ends the conversation controls the interaction. If you wait until the conversation dies a natural death, you are a victim of the death. If you end it while it's still alive and well, you are the architect.
So how do we do it? What are the options here?
Well, option A is what the source calls the logistical exit. This is the beginner or intermediate move, but it's very effective. You create a functional physical reason to move your body.
I'm going to grab a refill on my drink. I need to find the restroom.
I see someone over there I need to say hello to. It worked because it's unarguable. No one can say, no, you don't actually need a refill. It provides a plausible cover story.
But the source suggests a bolder move, the confident exit.
This is the C2 move. This is for when you don't have an excuse and you don't want to lie. You just want the conversation to be over.
This terrifies me. What do you possibly say?
You look them in the eye, you smile genuinely, and you say, it has been really nice catching up with you.
That's it.
That's it. You use the past tense. It has been nice. That signals completion. Then you add a simple closing wish. I hope you enjoy the rest of the night. And then, and this is the hardest part, you walk away.
You don't hover. You don't do the slow fade out.
You stick the landing, you pivot, and you leave.
It sounds so abrupt, though. So final.
It feels abrupt to you because you're fighting that deep-seated urge to apologize for leaving. But to them, it feels confident. It feels respectful. You're putting a nice bow on the interaction.
You're validating the time you just spent together. This was a good conversation.
Yeah.
And now it is done.
Exactly. Think about a great movie. It ends when the story is done. It doesn't drag on for another hour with the characters just, sitting around. If you let the conversation drag until it's painful and awkward, that awkwardness is the last thing they'll remember about you.
That's the peak end rule from psychology, right?
Okay.
We don't remember the average of an experience. We remember the peak intensity and the end.
Correct. So if the end is an awkward silence and a desperate knee slap, you've just ruined the memory of the whole interaction. But if the end is a confident, warm, it was great talking to you, you preserve all the rapport you just built.
So leaving early, or at least on time, is actually an act of kindness to the conversation.
It is an act of preservation of the connection you just made.
And I imagine you can combine this with a callback, right? For like the ultimate exit maneuver.
Oh, that's the nuclear option. That's the pro move. That's the mic drop.
Laughs. Give it to me.
It was great catching up with you. Hey, good luck with those kitchen tiles. I really hope you find the right shade of gray.
Wow. That's incredible. You validate the person, you prove you're listening, and you end the interaction all in one sentence.
It leaves them feeling seen, heard, and respected, and you get to go get another lukewarm white wine. Everybody wins.
It's surprisingly simple when you break it down into these architectural pieces. Lobby, bridge, living room, loop, exit.
It's mechanics. It's not magic, and I think that's the most empowering part of this.
It is. I think we tend to look at charismatic people, the Bill Clintons of the world, or just that one friend who can talk to absolutely anyone, and we think they have some special gene.
The gift of gab.
Right. But what we're really seeing here is that they're just using better architecture. They are instinctively asking what instead of why. They are using callbacks instead of noise grenades.
Charisma is largely just high-level active listening and pattern recognition. It's noticing the hook, pulling on the thread, and then knowing how to tie the knot at the end. Anyone can learn a pattern.
But it takes practice. I feel like if I tried to do all of this at a party tomorrow, I'd just be exhausted and mechanical.
Oh, you will fail at first. You will try a callback and you'll get the detail wrong. So you said you were renovating your bathroom. No, my kitchen.
Laughs Lemon. Right.
You'll ask about a side project and they will stare at you blankly.
I don't have hobbies. I hate my life.
And that happens. But the expert mindset, the architectural mindset, is that there is no such thing as a conversational dead end. There is only a lack of curiosity.
Oof. That's a tough pill to swallow.
If you are bored, you are asking the right questions. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is the protagonist of their own movie. If you can't find the plot, that's on you as the interviewer.
So even the person who says, I hate my life, is interesting.
Absolutely. That's an incredible opening line. Why do they hate it? What would they rather be doing? What's the biggest obstacle in their way? Now you're in a deep conversation about existential dissatisfaction. That's way better than the weather.
That's true. Commiseration is a powerful bonding tool. I hate everything. is a very strong opening statement if you're brave enough to follow it.
Exactly. You lean into the skid.
Before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we touched on with silence. We talk about how we panic. But if we master all these tools, if we have the medium talk, if we have the callback, does that mean the goal is to never have silence again?
No, and I'm so glad you brought this back up. The goal isn't to fill every single second with noise. The goal is to build a structure that is strong enough that it can support silence.
Explain that. What does a structure supporting silence mean?
Think about your best friend or your partner. You can sit in a car with them for an hour and not say a single word, and it's not awkward.
It's companionable silence.
It's companionable silence. Why? Because the rapport is already there. The house is already built. You don't need to constantly chat to prove that the house is still standing. When you're with a stranger, the house is flimsy. You feel like you have to keep talking to hold the walls up. But if you use these tools, if you build a quick, strong connection with the why disguised as what and side projects, you might find that a silence falls and you don't feel that panic anymore.
You can just sip your coffee and look around the room, and it's okay.
You can share a moment of observation, processing time, and that is the ultimate victory. When you can be silent with a near stranger and it actually feels safe.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the difference between I need to impress you and I am simply being with you. So to synthesize this entire deep dive, we are moving from the lobby, the entry fee, to the bridge medium talk. We're using why disguised as what to get into the living room, the emotional exchange. We're using the callback to handle the lulls and reinforce the structure. And we're exiting with confidence.
That is the blueprint.
It transforms social anxiety from this foggy, terrifying monster into a checklist, a series of steps.
Yes.
Oh, I'm in the lobby. I need to find a bridge.
It gives you agency. You aren't a victim of the conversation anymore. You are the driver.
I have a feeling I'm going to be analyzing every single conversation I have for the next week through this lens.
You won't be able to unsee it. You'll hear someone say, cool, and you'll just wince internally.
You'll be judging everyone's architecture. Nice, try buddy, no callback, amateur.
Be kind. We're all learning this stuff.
I want to leave our listener with something to chew on. We've talked a lot about the mechanics, the tactics, but there's a deeper, more philosophical question here about the nature of connection itself.
There is. And it connects right back to the idea of the callback.
The loop.
We tend to think of a conversation as linear. We start at point A, we go to point B, we end at point C. But the callback suggests that conversation isn't a line at all. It's a loop. We weave the past into the present to build the future of the relationship.
So the provocative thought for our listeners is,
if conversation is effectively a loop where we are constantly weaving past details into the present moment, are we really ever having new conversations? Or are we just constantly deepening the same one? And if you stopped fearing that moment of silence, if you stopped rushing to fill that void with noise, what might you actually hear the other person say?
maybe the most interesting thing they have to say is the thing they were gathering the courage to speak right before you interrupted them with a comment about their shoes.
Exactly. Maybe silence isn't a void. Maybe it's an invitation.
That is heavy and really hopeful.
It's where the real listening happens.
Well, on that note, go forth. Ask about the side projects. Try the callback. And for the love of everything, please don't mention the shoes unless they are truly spectacular.
And even then, ask, where did you get them? Not just, I like them.
We're disguised as compliment, always digging.
We could do this all day.
But we will execute a confident exit instead.
It has been great catching up with you.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.